He's back.
Your worst freaking nightmare, people.
After a week off, again, through no fault of his own, the Conquistador is back here with the maestro, Kevin Crane. It is time for Sports Frenzy 2.0 taping here on November the 8th, 2023.
It's the first segment. You know what that means. NFL, baby.
Kind of a weird week. Not a significant week per se, but a weird week.
There was some bizarre things going on. It's been a bizarre season.
Yeah, bad officiating, bad offense. Right now, every team, as of this moment, as we tape, every team in the AFC North makes the playoffs. All four teams. So,
yeah,
that
makes,
will change
no
this
sense.
Sunday when we get to our picks. But it's been a kind of a weird, odd season. I don't think there's a clear-cut MVP out there right now. I don't think there's a clear-cut best team. Some will say the Eagles, but I still think they're vulnerable.
Every team this year has big flaws.
Yes. And you get somebody else that gets hot in the NFC or whoever they meet in the Super Bowl, if it comes to that. But I was happy to see them kick the shit out of the Cowboys. Well
beat the Cowboys.
Right.
Yeah. Anytime the Cowboys lose, it's a good day.
Yes. But of course, we start off with the Germany game with your Dolphins.
Once again, the offense fails to show up against an over 500 team. A Kansas City defense that's middle of the road shuts the Dolphins offense down in the first half. And Miami's defense played well enough to win the game, giving up only 2 touchdowns. They shut down Travis Kelce big time. Mahomes didn't have that great a game, but you cannot give up the offense cannot turn the ball over and give up a defensive score like they did. What's the one play that I rail about week in, week out that should be removed from the playbook?
Oh, that little backwards pass, that little screen pass.
Yeah, the little...
where the risk versus the reward is just not worth it. For every one time it works, 9 times it fails miserably.
More than 9 times.
And puts the team in peril of a turnover or a massive loss that will basically force them to punt.
Yeah. And once again, you try and get the ball in Tyreek Hill's hands. Why are you not throwing to him downfield? You did not throw deep at all. And you do that stupid little swing pass. He gets hammered immediately and coughs up the ball and it's returned. Almost happened to the Bears. They did the same damn thing. They managed to recover the ball, though. Get rid of that stupid swing pass. It's not worth it.
No, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
But spotting Kansas City 21 points in the first half, getting your 14, too little, too late.
Yep. They made a nice comeback in the second half. And I still don't think Kansas City is the be-all, end-all.
No, they're not.
But the Dolphins have got to beat somebody in a clutch, big-time moment.
Yeah, and they are not showing the ability to do that.
Yep. Now we'll see what happens when they get A-Chain back. But this had to be disappointing for Tyreek Hill because this was his revenge game.
Yeah, and they did not put him in a position to succeed.
And Jalen Waddle was in and out because, again, I'm sorry, the guy gets hurt so often. You look at him the wrong way, and he's on the sidelines. Oh, my back. Oh, my leg. Oh, my shoulder.
Yeah, he's always got something going on.
But because the entire, here's the redeeming point for your Dolphins for the weekend. The entire AFC East lost.
God.
Dolphins lose, Bills lose, Jets lose, Patriots lose. So you didn't lose any
We
ground.
didn't lose
You're still
any
in
ground.
first place.
We're still good.
Still in first
God
place.
help us. They need to figure it out, though. They've got to find that killer instinct.
Yeah, and I still would like to see Vic Fangio's defense play a little better. Yes, they played good enough, like you said. The number one dynamic offense, which is what they're supposed to have, should be able to win a game like this.
Yeah. Your defense gives up 14 points. You should win the damn game with that dynamic of an offense.
Right.
They should have doubled them up.
So now this is going to play in big time when we get to the playoffs. This will determine home field advantage.
Yep.
That's why it's a
not
big,
a good
big
thing.
loss.
It's huge.
It's a big loss because now the Chiefs have the advantage over the Dolphins and the Jaguars.
Yep, and when you're getting there in that cold, nasty weather in January.
Yeah, they were joking about that on the broadcast. They were saying, yeah, it's not the greatest weather in Frankfurt, but would you rather be in Kansas City? Because technically this is a home game for the Chiefs.
And the weather wasn't bad in Kansas City. But there you go.
Yep. Well, the Buccaneers are who we thought they were, but what a game. What a game. They dropped to 3-5 in a massive shootout with the Texans. Historic shootout for CJ Stroud. The Bucs lose 39-37.
Good grief. No defense.
CJ Stroud throws for 5 touchdowns and a rookie record 470 yards.
Just a monster day.
So much for Todd Bowles being a defensive genius.
Yeah, there was no defense in that game. That was frightening.
But good for CJ Stroud. We've talked about this over the last month or so. And I, again, will take the hit on this. I am always a proponent of I want my quarterback to be smart. And when I see the Wonderlic scores or whatever they use now, when I see those intelligence scores down, that's a red flag to me. I'll admit it. And CJ Stroud did not do well.
No. That's the thing, though. You have some guys who do not do well, and they are absolute garbage. Other guys do not do well, but their play is brilliant.
Well, they got a different kind of mindset.
Yeah.
Dan Marino's one that we talked about that did not do well on the Wonderlic. They have a different mindset. Their brain works a different way. Just because they can't pass a test on paper in front of them doesn't mean they can't read a defense or can't react instinctively when they need to make the correct pass or the correct decision.
Yeah.
And CJ Stroud looks like he is one of those rare commodities.
Yep. He's looking like the potential to be a true superstar.
Yep. Considering the fact that Texans, who I think we pretty much wrote off, are already 4 wins in halfway through the season, way above what we expected.
Yeah. Much more competitive even in their losses, too.
Yep. Except they lost to the Panthers. That's the only
I know.
loss.
How the hell do you do that?
That you can't forgive them for is they've given the Panthers their only win.
Yeah.
Which, of course, screws the Bears.
Potentially.
One other note on this before we move on to the Bears. This game with the Buccaneers and the Texans was so wild that running back Dare Ogunbowale actually kicked a field goal. The go-ahead field goal late in the game. How crazy is that? Good for him. I was going to make him one of my badasses of the week for that.
That would have sufficed.
Yes. But I have a couple other badasses. So the slate was full. Positivity all around.
It's a good thing for a change.
Yeah, exactly. Who expects that from me? All right, now we got to move on to the Bears. 24-17 loss to the Saints, dropping them to 2-7.
The sad thing is they could have won that game if not for all the turnovers in the fourth quarter.
Now, are we supposed to look at the 2 contracts that they gave out this week as a positive? Number one, on the minor side, defensive tackle Andrew Billings gets a 2-year, $8.5 million extension.
Why? When you have Jalen Johnson out there waiting for his deal, who should get a good, decent deal, not top shelf money, but top 10 corner money. Why are you not re-signing him? Arguably your best defensive back. And you say, oh yeah, go ahead and seek out a trade, and then you don't trade him. And then you bring in Montez Sweat via trade, and you already give him an extension. Poles is an idiot. He is not doing anything to reward guys who are on the roster already that deserve it. You traded Roquan Smith away, and look at what he's doing now.
Yep. And the whole Montez Sweat thing, they backed themselves into a corner immediately on that.
Yeah. They left themselves no wiggle room.
Yeah. You give up so much to get him when he only had half a year left before he was going to be a free agent. You knew the Bears were going to have to overpay.
Yep, and they did.
4 years, $98 million. Now, he had a good first game. You got to give him that.
He did.
He played well against the Saints.
Let's see if it continues. I am not impressed with Ryan Poles at all.
Oh, no. I'm with you on that. And, of course, I saved this one just for you. Could have talked about it last week because it hit right around taping last week. But I said, no, I got to save this one for the Conquistador. Running back coach David Walker fired because of his workplace behavior. The second coach fired or
forced to resign.
Yes, leaving under suspicious circumstances.
Oh, but if you listen to Poles and you listen to Eberflus, they've got a great culture. Bullshit! If you had a great culture, one, you'd be winning and you would be showing improvement. Two, you wouldn't have these indiscretions and problems. These are guys you brought in that you vetted. This is a guy that you know that everyone vouched for. What the hell?
Yeah.
This is absolutely pathetic. It's indicative of Poles and Eberflus's incompetence, their lack of leadership ability.
Well, I think that's what it is. You got to look at it
and
as
they're just obtuse. They don't get it.
Those two have to be held responsible for this situation and, of course, the earlier situation. They have got to be held accountable because they were the ones ultimately responsible for hiring these guys, overseeing the process of bringing these guys in on the staff.
Yep. Inexcusable. I want to know when Luke Getsy is going to finally start getting called out and being held accountable for the inept Bears offense.
We talked about it. It needs to be flushed down the toilet. The whole organization. The McCaskies need to sell. We need a clean, fresh start.
Absolutely.
I don't care how many first-round picks we have next year.
It's not going to do a damn bit of good because these guys have no clue on how to develop anybody.
Exactly. In other news around the NFL, before we get to our recap of last week's games and our picks for this weekend's games. You knew it was going to happen eventually. Carson Wentz found a job.
God, the retread machine continues.
Wow, what does that say about, number one, that means Stafford's injury must be much more significant than what we first thought. Stetson Bennett must be garbage, must be hot garbage because you look at Will Levis. Will Levis got on the field for the Titans, and now he's a starter for the rest of the year.
Right. So what's up with
Stetson Bennett must just
Bennett
be awful.
must be horrible. How bad do you have to be to go out and sign Wentz?
I know.
It makes zero sense.
Yep.
I would rather go with Bennett than bring Wentz in.
But you can look at it this way. At least the Rams quarterback situation is better right now than either one of the New York teams.
This is true.
Because now Daniel Jones comes back after the neck issue and immediately tears his ACL. And I'm not... I feel bad for the kid. I don't feel bad because he's got a contract he didn't deserve.
Right.
So he's set for life.
But still, and that was such a fluke thing. Taking a snap, stepping back, and his leg just collapsed.
Yep.
It was just one of those fluke things.
So now they're down to their third string quarterback. People in the same stadium on the other side with the Jets are wondering, why can't we have that kind of luck with Zach Wilson? Because they keep putting him out there, and he has got to be the worst quarterback in the NFL.
God, he's looking brutal.
Next to the Giants' third string quarterback, DeVito, of course. And then, of course, more ugly accusations against an NFL owner, now this time Arizona owner Michael Bidwell, who, of course, got the team from his father. Lots of stories out there, defamation.
Yeah, I will say this, he's been getting... It's looking ugly for that organization.
I will say this, though. One of the stories, because I did some research on this. Yes, God forbid, I do my research. One of the stories I don't have a problem with, because everybody knows how I feel about Kansas City and Andy Reid and the enabling of his son and the drunk driving and destroying that young girl's life. I will never, ever forgive them for that. No, I will never, ever watch a State Farm commercial with Andy Reid.
Oh, he's so funny. Yeah. No, he's a piece of
every
garbage.
Time I see it, I throw up in my mouth a little bit because he is a piece of garbage. He's fooled everybody. So one of the problems that people have with Michael Bidwell, and I'm not exonerating other things that he might have done, but he had to suffer through 2 drunk driving incidents with higher-ups in his organization. Now, yes, that reflects badly on him for hiring those people, but the second one came through and they had a staff meeting, and he basically said, I'm fucking tired of dealing with this. I shouldn't have to deal with this. And he basically told the guy, apologize to the staff. Yeah. And if any of you do this, there will be even worse repercussions.
Yeah, I had no problem with that part at all. That needed to be done with all the drunk driving crap going on in professional sports.
It's like they're forgiving it now. Everybody's forgiving it now.
Yeah, no, you cannot forgive it. They needed to be held accountable. He held them accountable. I applaud him for that.
Yeah.
It's his other actions that I take issue with.
But this really offended me that people were saying this was a bad reaction on his part because he called this guy out. Why wouldn't you call the guy out? Exactly. He's an idiot. This is not a simple mistake. A simple mistake is not being able to do long division properly. You get behind the wheel of a car drunk, you deserve to be called out. You should be in jail.
Yep. They already had one instance. This is the second one. Of course he needs to be pissed and hold his people accountable on that.
And again, I go back to Kansas City. We're just brushing this kind of crap under the carpet. under the rug. What is wrong with Michael Bidwell? Again, not exonerating him for the other shit, but what is wrong with Michael Bidwell calling out the second idiot under his command?
Yeah.
For a DUI where he could have killed somebody like Andy Reid's fucking son.
Yeah.
Or almost killed somebody.
He would have been held accountable in the end.
I can't stand this bullshit society now where we're forgiving DUIs and DWIs.
And smash and grabs and all this other bullshit.
Because, again, we don't care about the victims.
Accountability.
As long as the 1% gets to live their lives without having to deal with any kind of penalty or any kind of prison time or jail sentence, then the world is all right. All right, looking back at last week's game. Sorry for the negativity.
It happens.
Not really, but. All right, the Steelers somehow managed to beat the Titans last Thursday night.
That was an ugly, ugly, ugly game.
But like I told you, when you and I this year, you and I against the world always works out. Dave and I both had the Steelers. Everybody else took Tennessee. We got the pick. We talked about the Kansas City Dolphins game in Germany. How about the Vikings beating the Falcons in Atlanta with Josh Dobbs?
Coming in, just a couple days before, no practice, didn't know anybody on the team, comes in cold off the bench and leads the comeback victory.
I'm telling you what.
That's impressive.
I'm telling you what. This could end up being the best move of the entire year. I think this could get the Vikings in the playoffs. Because this guy didn't get enough credit for, again, having to come in with Arizona at the beginning of the year, knowing he wasn't going to have the job the whole year when Kyler Murray, now coming back this week.
Yeah. And do you really put that much faith in Kyler Murray?
No, by the time he actually gets his feet under him and gets back into game shape, yeah. And then they're going to have a high pick, and guess what? They're going to draft a quarterback. But I was so impressed with Joshua Dobbs. I think
that was impressive.
Now Cam Akers out
again,
just like the other knee.
Yeah,
of course he came back from blowing out one knee, and now he's blown out the other knee. So maybe my Alexander Madison
might not be so bad after all.
I held on to him.
There you go.
But I like the Vikings to get a wild card here. I'm telling you.
They're looking better.
Somehow the Packers, another ugly, we've talked about ugly football all year. Rams at Packers, of course.
How the hell do the Rams fold like that?
No Stafford.
But still, Rippon. Come on.
Brett Rippon as a quarterback. Come on.
Ugh.
But I know what you mean. The Packers aren't much better with Jordan Love.
No.
The Patriots, I don't know what to make of this fucking team. Commanders go in and win in Foxborough 20-17. We'll get to more on the Patriots and the picks, because this week's picks, because I don't know what to say about this game. I don't know what's going on with Belichick. I don't know what's going on with that roster, that team.
Clue.
They should be better than this.
They should be, but they're just a mess.
I know.
Everybody's a mess.
The Ravens might be the best team in the NFL.
Right now, they are the most complete.
Destroyed the Seahawks 37-3.
Yep, I'm glad on the fantasy side that I picked up that Ravens defense.
Yeah, that team is humming right now.
Yeah.
Definitely humming.
Jim's got them boys going.
Well, and okay, Lamar Jackson maybe made the right gamble with his little drama last year.
Potentially.
Got his big contract, and now maybe he's going to play up to it.
He's looking like he could.
Eagles, as we mentioned, beat the Cowboys 28-23. Eagles with the best record in the NFL. Bengals, I'm telling you, they had that
Bengals.
little blip the first month of the season. Oh, Joe Burrow's got a bad calf. He's not going to.
Got to let it heal.
And it's healed, baby.
It's now healed. He was running. He looked good.
They take out the Bills 24-18. I don't know what you make of the Bills right now. I don't know. Again, as we mentioned, every team in the AFC East lost last weekend.
Yeah, everybody's got flaws. And
I still think the Bills will get into the playoffs somehow, somewhere.
They might back in.
But the Bengals,
they're not looking good.
The Bengals are a force to be reckoned with.
Yep.
I'm telling you.
This is another year, a slow start.
Mm-hmm.
But they're finishing strong.
Yep. And then an ugly Monday night game.
That was pathetic.
Chargers beat the Jets 27-6, but
it wasn't
the Chargers didn't even get 200 yards of total offense.
No, they looked.
They had a punt return for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Zach Wilson, of course, looked abysmal.
Yeah, the Chargers' offense looked as bad as the Jets' offense most of the game.
Eckler got a couple short touchdown runs, and that was it.
That's
all he needed because, of course, Zach Wilson doesn't know what he's doing. And it still boggles my mind that, yes, we mock the Rams for going out and getting Carson Wentz, but that's still better than anything the Jets have got.
Yeah. Oh, but wait. Aaron Rodgers is going to be back in a few fortnights.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe he wants to come back in 6 weeks. Yeah. No,
and he's got to be such a pretentious asshat
that he has to go fortnights.
Yes. Oh my God.
What the fuck's a fortnight, you say? For those of you uneducated in the British vernacular, that would be 2 weeks.
So yeah, we're talking about a month and a half.
About a month and a half.
Yeah.
To 2 months that he thinks he'll be ready. He still has to get medical clearance.
All right, we're going to move on to our picks for this upcoming weekend, but there will be.
There's always spillage when it comes to this time.
NFL Week 10, Thursday night.
Battle of the Basement Dwellers.
The Bears lose and win either way here. Because, of course, they have the Panthers' first-round pick this year. So the Panthers coming into Soldier Field to play the Bears on Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime.
God help
us.
What
do you do? Do you want to win? Do you want to lose?
Does it really matter?
Getting out of the mindset of what the GM wants.
Yeah. Just from a pure football standpoint, the Bears should be able to win this game.
The Bears are the better team. I mean, we've
both
already
sides
talked about
of the ball.
We talked about C.J. Stroud. He looks better than Bryce Young. I'm not writing off Bryce Young, but Bryce Young might be taking more of a normal learning curve, like a Peyton Manning, like a Troy Aikman, where C.J. Stroud is just blowing up. He's one of those rare exceptions to the rule.
Yeah.
But Bagent looks good enough to beat a bad Carolina Panthers team.
Yeah. As long as Luke Getsy pulls his head out of his ass and calls plays within his skill set.
And I have heard rumors that we might get some reinforcements coming with running back.
Potentially.
I believe Khalil Herbert is eligible to play this week if they clear him.
I thought it was the other one.
Johnson? Not Johnson. Johnson's already back.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure. I don't know. Who knows? We'll have to wait
I
and
saw
see.
Khalil Herbert popping up on the fantasy football radar. So,
no, we'll have to wait and see.
But that doesn't mean he is going to play.
No, at this point, why would you run him out there?
Right.
When you haven't needed him. Your running back play has excelled at this point.
All right, Bears for everybody but Aaron going with the Panthers. The rest of our picks in segment 2. We'll be right back.
I'm Patrick, not Pat, Mahomes, Super Bowl champion and MVP. And when I'm not trying to keep my wife and brother in line, I'm listening to Sports Frenzy on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, Stitcher, Amazon, and Audible. Brittany, come on, stop posting on Twitter. Jackson, will you please get off TikTok? Man, it's times like these I really miss doing stupid, silly State Farm ads with Coach Reed.
All right, it's segment 2 here, November 8th, 2023, dropping Thursday the 9th. He's the maestro, Kevin Crane.
Along with the conquistador, Dave Height.
And it's time for Spillage on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, Amazon, Audible, and iHeart Sports Frenzy 2.0, baby!
Otherwise known as iHeartRadio. Of course, don't forget to check out the Facebook page where we will have all of our 8 panelist picks posted by no later than Thursday night each and every week. 7, of course, of our 8 panelists are in. We gave you our picks for the Thursday night game. Now we move on to Sunday, November the 12th.
The next Germany game. Colts and the Patriots.
Island boy. I kind of like being an island boy this year. It's working out for me, okay?
It's worked out for you. It sucked for me.
I don't understand the fascination, the adoration for the Colts. They're not that good.
I don't trust the Patriots. They're not that good.
I can't see Bill Belichick playing Tankathon because that is the only way that
They might not even be trying to play Tankathon. They're just not consistent.
I don't see anything from Gardner Minshew. I don't see anything from Jonathan Taylor that leads me to believe that this team is a good team. This will be the week where Bill Belichick comes back and says, I ain't dead yet.
We'll wait and see. I
cannot
do it.
And the rumblings about him going to Washington.
Oh, that's a bunch
going
of
to Chicago. Or no. I'm taking the Patriots. Everybody else, the other 6 panelists.
We're riding the Colts.
I don't believe in Minshew Mania anymore. I just don't. I don't. Now, here's an interesting game. The Saints now in front in the NFC South. I praised the Vikings in the last segment with Joshua Dobbs. I am not bailing on them now after giving them all the accolades I did.
No, the Vikings look like this could be the turning point, that thing they needed to bring the team together. They were just missing something. There was just something missing in all their losses that were close. Now they might have that spark that they need to put them over the top.
They knew who their quarterback is now. After Kirk Cousins goes down, now they know who their quarterback is.
Yeah.
Now they know who their running back is. Cam Akers is out. So now it goes back to Alexander Madison. He has got to shoulder the burden. Addison is now the number 1 receiver. Jefferson could be back if this team continues on a roll. And then they get to the playoffs. Who knows?
Yeah. And the Vikings have a decent enough defense to keep the Saints in check.
Yeah.
The Bears should have beaten the Saints if not for poor quarterback play.
And I think the one thing you and I will agree on is that the Saints have not looked consistent, have not looked good this year.
No, they have not.
I don't think the Saints are that good of a team. There's something wrong here. Probably coaching.
Probably.
I'm not a big fan of Dennis Allen. I like the Vikings coach much better.
Yep.
Younger guy, better ideas.
Yeah. So,
You and I are taking the Vikings, of course, but we're not alone. So that's
nope, Nick and Doug are with us.
Yep.
But the Saints for Sam, Bill, and Aaron.
The Titans going down to play in Raymond James Stadium against the Buccaneers. Of course, Will Levis has been named the starting quarterback for the rest of the year for the Titans. I don't like the way – I figured this is the way the Buccaneers were going to go. I don't like Todd Bowles. I'm not a big fan of Baker Mayfield.
No
running game.
I don't know what the hell you got with the Titans, though. Even
DeAndre
with
Hopkins
Levis,
has played so much better
he
with
has
Levis.
played better.
And you still got Derrick Henry.
We'll see. I'm still not sold on the Titans. I'm thinking at home, the Buccaneers riding the wave.
So you and Sam, Bill, and Aaron take the Buccaneers.
The Buccaneers just barely lost, but their offense at least showed signs of showing up.
Where's the defense? Where's the defense? For the genius defensive mind, Todd Bowles.
Maybe he'll read him the riot act. Who knows?
This
is a crapshoot game anyway.
I've got the Titans.
And what's my rule? When in doubt, take the home team.
Yeah, I don't think it plays out that way here. I'm taking the Titans along with Doug and Nick. Big game. Two teams coming off bye weeks, rested, ready to go. The 49ers on a 3-game slide playing the Jaguars in Duval. Arguably the hottest team in the league with their winning streak.
5-game winning streak, 3-game losing streak. The Niners are going to stop their losing streak.
Agreed. Absolutely agree.
This is a law of averages game here.
I think Brock Purdy needed a couple weeks to get over the concussion that they've been forcing him. I'm sorry. I believe forcing him to play through.
Yeah. They need to be investigated for this.
I think he'll be fine now with a couple weeks of rest. The Jaguars, another one of those teams like the Chiefs, looks good, but not as good as the record indicates.
Yeah.
I think if the 49ers shut down Travis Etienne, then they're in trouble. I think the 49ers win the game.
The Niners are primed to break out with this one.
Sam agrees with us, as does Nick and Doug.
Yep.
Aaron and Bill go with the Jags.
All right.
Had to put this on the slate.
This is a defensive battle right here.
Yeah, two of the top defenses in the league.
Browns at the Ravens.
Had to put this on the slate because, again, both of these teams right now in the playoffs. But I had a feeling the point spread was going to be high. For an NFL game, it is. It's 6 points. I think it's going to be more than that. I think the Ravens are going to destroy Deshaun Watson and the Browns.
Yep. Everybody agrees. All 7 of us taking Baltimore.
Island boy. I am doing.
You're on Charger Island.
I'm telling you, the Lions at the Chargers. I think the Lions aren't as good as everybody wants them to be. I don't care. I don't care if it's a short week for the Chargers. I don't care if they got to fly back home.
It's Staley.
Justin Herbert is better than Jared Goff. Austin Eckler is better than any running back the Lions have. Keenan Allen is at least equal, if not better, than Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I have no issue.
And it's a home game for the Chargers.
But the coaching staff doesn't know how to call this team.
You're acting like Dan Campbell all of a sudden is Vince Lombardi. Come on.
He's better than Staley.
I'm taking the Chargers. The Lions aren't this good. They're good. They will win the NFC North, but they're not this good. Chargers win this game. I am on Chargers Island. Everybody else taking the Lions.
Yep. All right.
I will say this one shocks me. This shocked me a little bit. Given the beatdown the Seahawks just got last week.
Yeah, they got it handed to him, but Carroll is not going to let them lay down. He is going to have them fired back up. And it's against the Commanders. They
Who
are
have been
not
hit and
that
miss.
good.
They've been hit and miss.
They have.
They've been hit and miss.
I don't know what the hell to make of them.
I'll tell you what, if I was a betting man, and I'm not, I like my money too much, but 6.5 point, I would take
the Commanders and the points.
I would take the Commanders in a second.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The points. This will be a field goal game.
Yep.
The Seahawks will win. We all agree.
Yep, Seahawks across the board, but this is one where
that's a huge number to give up.
You take the Commanders and the points.
Where the Seahawks coming off a massive 34-point loss and the Commanders having an impressive win against the Patriots. I know you don't think it's impressive, but
not really.
I would take those points in the Commanders if I was a betting man. If I were a rich man, la 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 la. Somebody brought up Fiddler on the Roof at work today. So.
God. Have another beer.
Shotgun.
Go, 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 go.
All right, yeah, we need that for the final game here, the Sunday night game. God help me, they're not going to flex this game out.
Why are you not flexing this crap fest?
The Jets at Vegas to play the Raiders.
The resurgent Raiders.
With Antonio Pierce as their coach now.
At least they showed some signs of life.
Can't believe I'm going to do this. Because I hate Zach Wilson more than life itself. He is everything I hate about football when it's bad. He is abysmal. He is arrogant. He is awful. He is stupid. He's a pretty boy who doesn't know how to play football. Drafted in the top 3.
But you're hoping the Jets' defense will carry the day?
Again, they held the Chargers under 200 yards. Okay? And I know the Chargers won the game because of fluky stuff, special teams. The Raiders are not as good as the Chargers. I don't
They're
care.
Still better than the Jets.
Josh Jacobs will not be able to run. They will shut down. They'll have Sauce Gardner on Devontae Adams. This will be a 7-2 final score.
It's going to be a 6-3. It's going to be a field goal game.
I'm taking the Jets. I'm not alone.
Nope. Bill and Doug are going with you. The rest of us take the Raiders.
Yep, Raiders for you and Sam, Nick, and Aaron. So there we go, kids.
That's your NFL rundown.
That was fun. Missed you last week, bud. That was fun. Doing that by myself was not fun.
You need the back and forth.
All right, so now we move on to college football.
Duh.
Of course, a bad week for both of our teams. Notre Dame loses to Clemson. I could have seen this coming. I didn't pick it, but I should have seen this coming.
We should have seen it coming.
With Dabo Swinney on the radio going crazy with all the fans calling, how can you justify getting as much money as you get? You're not a good coach.
And and
they fired him up.
And Notre Dame's offense fizzles on the road. Their offensive coordinator has to be the next coordinator on the hot seat. Because they are so bland and milquetoast when they are on the road. There's nothing there.
So what, you want Tommy Rees back?
Fuck no.
Notre Dame drops to 7-3 after losing to Clemson 31-23. Still somehow ranked 22nd in the AP. But of course, who am I to talk? Because I picked it. My Miami Hurricanes could not stick with the good, solid defense you've been preaching all year. You have been on the bandwagon for NC State.
I have with their defense, and they've let me down how many times?
Well, I knew they were going to step up because
Ugh.
this Miami team is still so inconsistent. Miami 20-6 losing to the Wolfpack. They dropped to
6 points
6-3.
is pretty damn pathetic.
Yes, it is. It is awful. Awful. So both our teams have 3 losses. No hope in sight for a major bowl. Other news in the college football world. Shocking. That titanic, awesome USC defense.
Yes, Titanic, because they sink every time.
They fired their defensive coordinator, Alex. Yes, wait for it.
Grinch.
You're a mean one,
Mr. Grinch.
No, you're a stupid, inept one, Mr. Grinch.
Yeah.
Oh my God, how bad.
That is an epically, even for a Lincoln Riley-led team, that's an awful defense.
Yes, and then, of course, that didn't stop the USC headlines because now, of course, clickbait. Caleb Williams was emotional after losing to Washington, went to his mommy in the stands and cried. I can't. I don't know what to make of this.
Who cares?
I've got other issues
Who really
with him.
cares?
I will say this. As Bears fans, I don't want him. I don't want him.
No, I want nothing
But
to
not
do with
for
him.
this. Not for
this, because he's got other character issues.
Right. But this I don't care about. You know. Oh, look, he's weak. Oh, shut up.
He's not weak.
Shut up. It's an emotional game. You're investing everything, heart and soul, into it. I'm not going to rip on him for crying.
No.
After losing a huge game to Washington. But again, he's got other issues that I'm worried about.
Yeah, and that's USC's third loss. And they've got another one looming.
Yeah, they're going to be right there with Notre Dame and Miami in those middle tier bowls.
Yep.
Of course, up here in we're Notre Dame territory technically, but really we're Big Ten territory.
Yeah, this is the Big Ten.
And of course, the big news the last couple of weeks has been this conspiracy, Spygate,
if you want to call it that. Michigan staffer attending games in other opponents' stadiums, trying to scout out what their signals are to get a competitive advantage. And there's footage of this guy at every location.
Right. Connor Stallions. Initially, I heard he resigned. Now they're saying he was fired for the signal stealing.
He's probably forced to resign.
Right. Interesting side note on this, though, as we await any kind of penalty that might be handed down.
Michigan's been put on notice by the Big Ten commissioner.
Right. But Michigan also presented evidence to the Big Ten and to the NCAA saying that, okay, fine, you want to rip on us for this? We've got evidence that Purdue, before they played us, got information on our defensive signals from Rutgers and our offensive signals from Ohio State. So, which way are we going to go here? We're going to bash Michigan? We're going to bash Harbaugh?
Or was this done in retaliation?
All I'm saying is, let's look at everybody. Let's look at the whole big picture.
What's the old adage? If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Okay, then why is Michigan getting singled out? That's my question. If they're presenting evidence, concrete, legitimate
then
evidence,
everybody
that
needs
Purdue,
to be held accountable.
And why are Rutgers and Ohio State helping out Purdue?
There's no reason for that.
I'm just saying this evidence has been presented to the higher-ups.
Yeah, we'll see. Or are they just trying to blow smoke?
I don't know, looking back at last week's games, not really a lot to discuss. Bedlam was interesting.
Good Lord, was it. The last Bedlam.
Yep. And Oklahoma State, Gundy came through.
This is a game.
None of us saw it.
No, this is the game he typically blows.
Yep.
But by God, he actually pulled it off.
Yep. Good for him. We talked about Notre Dame Clemson, of course. And then we talked about the crying game with Caleb Williams. Alabama holds off Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly still doesn't have that LSU program up there yet.
Nope.
They're not quite there yet. And then finally, again, you and I, when we go on an island together, I'm not saying anything beyond that, when you and I go on an island together.
When we pick against the rest of the panel.
Yes. We picked Arizona to upset number 20 UCLA, and God damn it,
boom,
they did it. Wasn't even close. 11 or 17-point victory.
Yep.
I'm telling you, we can't collude, but we should.
Can't, but we should.
All right, real quick, 10 games. We got to knock these out before the end of the segment. A lot of small, teeny, tiny games. Not a great slate again this week, with one or two exceptions. But Friday night, November the 10th, Wyoming at UNLV. Everybody taking the running Rebs except for Doug and Aaron.
Aaron taking Wyoming. That could be interesting. Who knows? But then the big matchup. Number 2, Michigan goes to Happy Valley to play number 9, Penn State. Michigan so far across the board for everyone except for Doug taking Penn State.
Two reasons. Number one, and see if you agree with me. Number one, Michigan has been dealing with Jim Harbaugh's controversies for years now. That doesn't affect them. Because remember last year we talked about the fact that he was, during recruiting season, flirting with going to the Vikings.
Right. Yeah. They play well despite his ineptitude off the field and the antics.
Number 2, James Franklin needs to prove it to me.
Yep.
He needs to beat a big-time program for me to believe in Penn State.
Exactly. Would I be surprised if Penn State pulled it off?
No.
Not really.
No.
Being at home. But, like you said, Franklin has to prove it. How many times do we take Ohio State over Michigan until Harbaugh proved he could beat Ohio State?
Exactly. We got Va-Tech at Boston College in an ACC matchup. Boston College is on a roll. They're on a win streak. So I'm going opposite.
There you go. I haven't seen anything out of Va-Tech to make me pick them. We'll see.
I just think the streak is due to end. So Va-Tech for me, Nick, Doug, and Aaron. Boston College for you and Sam and Bill. Number 14, Tennessee at number 16, Missouri. If it wasn't for Nick, we could have been doing that. It could have been the
simpatico us against everybody.
Yep. Tennessee is not as good as they were last year.
No, and they do not play as well on the road. Missouri has looked pretty damn good.
Yep, so you and I are taking Missouri along with Nick. Everybody else going with the Volunteers. Rutgers at Iowa. The under. I'm taking the under on this. This game is going to be 3-2. I'm telling you.
Maybe 4-3.
As much as we rip on Kirk Ferentz. And
his defenses are always fantastic, and he's going to have
Oh, my God, they get better every year. And this year...
He's going to have to fire his son as offensive coordinator because he's not maintaining...
No, he's already resigned.
Oh, there you go.
He's done at the end of the year. So... Again, a 3-2 game.
Yep. I'm taking Rutgers. I like the way Shianu has this team
I know.
going.
I hate to pick against him. You know how much I love
He has
Shianu.
got that program finally starting to click now.
And I will still say that man should be the head coach at Miami. God damn it. But that Iowa defense is just nasty.
It is.
I'll take Iowa, Sam, Bill, and Nick as well.
Yep, I've got Rutgers along with Doug and Aaron.
Appalachian State at Georgia State. Again, we're picking a lot of weird games because we're picking with the point spreads.
Yep, got to be under 10.
Picking tight, close matchups. Georgia State, I don't like the fact that they lose when
they should win.
Not necessarily when they should win, but they're not showing me that they can beat the opponents that are arguably better than them.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Penn State. We talked about Penn State earlier. Penn State can't beat the better team. And I feel that way about Georgia State. I'm taking App State.
So am I, as is Bill, Doug, and Aaron.
Georgia State for Nick and Sam.
All right. The hapless Cincinnati Bearcats are taking on Houston. Needless to say, it's Houston across the board.
Yeah, but it's only a 2-point spread.
How is it only 2 points?
I mean, it's pretty obvious Houston's a better team.
Yeah.
At home.
At home, especially as inept as Cincinnati's been.
We've had
Hell, I would take Houston despite the points, straight up.
Yep. Now, we've had a lot of App State games. We've had a lot of Boston College games lately. We've had a lot of Coastal Carolina games lately.
And we have them again hosting Texas State.
Now, I'm riding Coastal Carolina. I like this program. I like this team. But
I do too, not this week. Sam and I are riding Texas State. Coastal Carolina is ripe to be picked off at home. Looking at the stats on it, Texas State's stats run better than Coastal Carolina's.
All right, everybody else taking Coastal Carolina.
The Chanticleers.
Yeah, I was just going to say the Chanticleers.
That's a fancy way of saying cocks.
Oh, so now I got to look down at my nether regions and say,
"Hello,
hey,
Chanticleer."
Yeah.
There's
a pretty girl over there. Rise, Chanticleer, rise.
Hello, baby. Want to ride my Chanticleer?
Oh my Lord!
And we went off the rails.
Yeah, but this next game is just, you want to talk about off the rails? A middling to pathetic SEC matchup between Auburn and Arkansas.
God. Yeah, this is just ugly.
Until Aaron got his pick in late. Well, not late, but...
Yeah, you were Island boy.
Yep. But Aaron and I are taking Auburn, everybody else going with Arkansas.
Yep, at home.
I'll tell you why I'm not taking Arkansas. That pathetic showing a couple weeks back against Mississippi State, where they put up 3 fucking points. No. Arkansas, no more this year. No more. Done. Over it.
There we go. And to wrap it up, San Diego State at Colorado State. Colorado State across the board.
All right. We got about a minute and a half. Let us talk real quick about hockey. Blackhawks 4-7.
Yeah, they still suck. Bedard's playing well, getting it like a point a game, so not bad, but they still have a long way to go.
Last Saturday, November the 4th, 114 goals. Most ever overall on a single day in NHL history.
Pretty impressive. Back to the Blackhawks, more negativity there. another player from the 2010 team has come out filing a suit against them for the whole video coach debacle.
God.
So it just won't go away.
Lord. Oh, Lord. Well, and you can always take solace in the fact that right now you're still better than the San Jose Sharks, but the Sharks avoid the worst start in NHL history last night as we tape here on the 8th. On the 7th, snapped an 11-game losing streak. If they had gone 0-12, worst start in history, but I believe they beat the Flyers.
Yep.
So
there you go.
San Jose avoids infamy.
There you go. All right, that does it for segment 2. We'll be back with 3. Hello, friends. Are you tired of the boring sports analysis you get from the major outlets? If so, join the Maestro and the Conquistador for a riveting discussion of all sports topics on Sports Frenzy 2.0. Available on Spotify, Google, Apple, and wherever podcasts are available.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Third and final segment here. November the 8th, 2023, dropping tomorrow morning, November the 9th. He's a Conquistador, Dave Height.
He's the Maestro, Kevin Crane.
And we have to start off, of course, wrapping up the NASCAR season here on Sports Frenzy 2.0. Dave and I, of course, are completely invested in NASCAR. Been watching it for decades and decades. Dave, of course, huge Dale Earnhardt fan, going back further than I. But, of course, I've been following as a diehard fan for 30 years. So, as much as everybody wants to dismiss NASCAR as a sport, I still think it is much more entertaining to watch than the NBA, soccer, or any of these other made-up sports that you people want to jam down our throats.
Pickleball.
Yes. Flag football in the Olympics now.
Yeah.
So the season wrapped up this past weekend. 3 champions to acknowledge. In the Truck Series, Ben Rhodes.
Who won the Demolition Derby, as it turned out to be.
The Xfinity champ is Cole Custer. And then with the Cup Championships race in Phoenix, William Byron got the pole. Ross Chastain won the race. But the way NASCAR has it set up, with basically the final 4 racers,
whoever finishes ahead takes the title.
That would be Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney wins his first Cup Championship back-to-back for Penske.
Yep. Fairly impressive run from that organization. They did not look good most of the year. Blaney just barely got into the chase as it was. And he managed to kind of peak at the right time to keep advancing, to put himself in a position. It's like any sports adage anymore. Just get in.
And then you get hot. That's why we see wild cards advancing as far as they do. We'll get to baseball in a second on that.
Yeah.
But you see it in football as well.
Just get in.
Yep. Of course, this was, at his most dominant track, Kevin Harvick's final race.
Yep.
Be sad to see Happy go.
You get him in the booth for Fox.
Him and Boyer should be fun together.
That's going to be great. And Harvick has been in the booth before for Truck and Xfinity. He's good.
Yep.
He can break it down. He does a nice job. So it should be a lot of fun with him and Boyer, former teammates.
Yep. So, of course, even though Cole Custer won the Xfinity title for Stewart-Haas, that team I don't know where they're going to go in the Cup Series right now because they are very, very, very weak. I'm sorry, but they are.
That Cup team is just out of sorts.
You've got, Chase Briscoe and Ryan Preece right now.
Yeah, and they are lacking big time behind everybody else.
Yep. And that's sad, but it's the truth.
And it's cyclical.
Yeah.
All organizations tend to kind of go through that, with any more the exception of Hendrick. They've had the longest run of still maintaining that competitive edge.
Yep. All right, so the World Series is over. And the Rangers dominated, won every game on the road.
Yep, they were impressive.
Beat the Diamondbacks 4-1. Winning the World Series, of course, Corey Seager wins his second World Series MVP with his second different team.
Very impressive.
But, of course, to me, the bigger news is that Bruce Bochy again establishes himself as one of the greatest managers of all time. Lured out of retirement after winning 3 titles with the Giants.
He wins
first year
with the Rangers. They were a dominant team for most of the year. They hit a little skid to let the Astros overtake them. As a wild card team, they beat another wild card team in the World Series.
Going back to what we were just talking about a few minutes ago.
Yep, just get in.
Yep.
But yeah, the Rangers team was not, they were going to be hard to beat regardless of where they finished.
And I'm going to tie the Rangers in a minute to my favorite team. But if you look at the postseason numbers, if you look at the awards now that are starting to come out with the Golden Gloves and now the finalists for the MVP, you're seeing that everybody acknowledges the fact this Rangers team was talented.
Yeah, they put together a very talented roster.
They spent a crap ton of money a couple years ago on Corey Seager and Simeon.
Mm-hmm.
I think last week I called him Trevor Simeon.
Oh, no.
Marcus Simeon, of course. Didn't he play for the White Sox?
The White Sox drafted him.
Yes, of course he did. Yes.
Yeah, and traded him for, I believe it was a washed-up pitcher. Absolutely horrendous.
But the interesting thing about the Rangers is they also flushed a lot of money down the toilet this year on Jacob deGrom, who could not pitch for most of the year, and then bringing in, now I think the Mets are paying most of the salary for Max Scherzer. But he was, again, awful.
He was a weak link in that rotation.
You want to talk about a guy whose Hall of Fame career is ending on a down note? The last 3 years, Max Scherzer has done himself no favors.
No, he is.
But he got a ring.
He got a ring.
He got another ring. So congratulations to the Texas Rangers. First ever World Series title for that franchise.
Yep. Good for them. It's just a shame that this was the lowest rated World Series.
Again.
But baseball is a regional sport. You're not going to watch it unless it's your team.
Right. Again, completely different from the NFL. And that's why the NFL's king is I will still watch the Panthers and Bears tomorrow night.
Yeah. That's why we watch the Eagles and the Cowboys, or we're going to wind up watching the Jets and the Raiders.
Yeah, because football is intriguing no matter what team is playing. Baseball, not so much.
Yeah, you have to have that. You have to be hooked into a team to follow them.
Yes.
And then even still, if they suck, you're really not going to follow them.
So are we going to move on to our teams now? Yeah, I take it as a perfect segue.
It's the perfect
Let's start off with the White Sox.
Let's start with the best news.
Well, news I got a late birthday present is how I looked at it. And you broke the news for me.
Yep.
My man, my brother from another mother, the Conquistador Dave Height, texted me and told me Craig Counsell signing as manager for the Chicago Cubs. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I have not gotten any notifications.
Yep.
And I'm not a phone guy, but...
Yeah, I was going to work and listening to the radio and, all right, breaking news. The Cubs have signed Craig Counsell to be their manager and let David Ross go. And I'm like, boom, as soon as I parked, texted you.
And again, he broke the news for me. I had no idea this was going on until I heard from him. 15 minutes later, the phone blows up from all the great and glorious media outlets. So this means Sports Frenzy actually...
Well, no, I got it from The Score.
Right.
Chicago sports radio station
You're
that I
always
listen
going to get
to.
it from another outlet. So
yeah. I got to give them the credit. I was in the truck on the way to work, and they said, breaking news, holy crap, I can't believe they made this move.
Overpaying, but I'm fine with it. 5-year, $40 million deal for Craig Counsell. All the critics go, he hasn't won anything.
He hasn't had a team yet.
You have to understand the economics of baseball. Obviously, you idiots don't, who are criticizing this move. Because the Cubs spend money. The Cubs are one of the top 5 or 6 payroll teams in all of baseball. The Brewers are not.
They're a bottom 6.
The Brewers are below, the lower half below the Mendoza line when it comes to payroll. Okay?
Yeah, they do not pay.
No. They burn money on Christian Yelich, and he...
burned them.
Yep.
So they're not going to shell out any more money.
Right. So, but he still won division title after division title after division title.
With a less than average lineup.
Let me draw an analogy for you Cubs fans
how many
out there.
games did he one-run games did he win?
Let me draw an analogy for the Cubs fans out there. You remember a certain guy called Joe Madden? And where did Joe Madden come from? The Tampa Bay Rays, who also do not spend money. But again, he made the best that he could out of that team. Got them to a World Series. And guess what? You won in 2016 with Joe Madden. This is such a parallel. It's ridiculous. Yeah. This is the exact same thing. The only difference is you're poaching him from your division rival.
Yep. And unlike Ross, who throws out goofy-ass lineups and Sunday lineups and who cares, Counsell manages and throws out a lineup to win every day. He is not going to leave games on the table like Ross did.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely agree. I'm ecstatic.
And I'm jealous.
Ecstatic about this. Because we just saw, this is where I'm coming back to that analogy, where that comparison I was talking about earlier, we're talking about the Rangers. 2 lessons I think the Cubs learned in the last couple of weeks from the Texas Rangers. Number 1, you have got to have a top-level manager. David Ross is not a top-level manager.
Nope, you got rid of Ricky Renteria to bring in Joe Madden.
This is the same
situation.
Same thing. And number 2, you look at, again, the money they spent on Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, Max Scherzer, Jacob. The Rangers went all in, and now the Cubs will go all in on payroll. And they've got the room now with Marcus Stroman going away. They'll probably make a healthy bid for Cody Bellinger. I don't know if they'll
Isn't that Hayward money finally off the books?
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, we're still stuck for another year.
Oh, God.
Yeah, deferred money. All this deferred fucking money for Jason Hayward. He's like crotch rot. It just won't go away.
So is this like another Bonilla thing?
No. It's not like the Mets with Bonilla and Saberhagen, where they're paying these guys in perpetuity. I think eventually in the next year or two, this goes away. But
So bad.
But Stroman saves us over $20 million. Bellinger, for now, dropping off the book, saves us almost $20 million. They bring back Hendricks, which I like. I'm sorry, but I love Kyle Hendricks. Bringing him back for $16.5 million is fine with me. Bring back Jan Gomes for $6 million, fine with me. Mostly DH, probably occasionally can catch. So I'm good with all the moves the Cubs have made. Now, don't make a Jameson Tyone deal.
No,
this
please
offseason.
no.
You need bringing two more players, position player, pitcher. I would say closer.
You need two
a closer.
middle of the order bats, big bats.
Yes, because I will say I still don't like the contract they get Happ.
No, that's going to come back and bite you.
$20 million for Ian Happ. Come on. That's ridiculous. Now, I will say this. Congratulations to Ian Happ, Nico Horner, Dansby Swanson, 3 Gold Glove winners for the Cubs.
There you go.
Texas had a ton of Gold Glove winners. I believe they had 4 or 5. So, fielding, key. Good team players, key. Great manager, key.
What are the keys to baseball? You hit the ball. You throw the ball. You catch the ball. Thank you, Big Blue W.
Yep. So, very happy with what the Cubs have done over the last week. I can't wait for next year. I'm ready. Finally, for the first time in 3 or 4 years, I'm ready for spring training. Let's get there. Let's do it now.
Yeah, I've got no hope. Let's go to the other side of the rainbow, the dark side. White Sox declined the club options on Liam Hendricks, making him a free agent. They declined the club option on Tim Anderson, making him a free agent. Bye-bye to Trailer Park, Mike Clevenger, not a big loss. I hate losing Hendricks, but I know he would be wasted on that team. But you're not getting anything back. Anderson, you should have traded him in the offseason last year, like I had said. So now you're stuck.
Can I point something out, though? As you astutely pointed out that we're still paying Jason Hayward, you will now be paying Liam Hendricks for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I know, because they're morons.
$1.5 million each year for the next 10 years.
Yeah, brilliant, aren't they? So, Chris Getz astutely says, we've got some talented players, but I don't like the team. And he's right. You had talented players, but they were not a team. There was no cohesion. They were not pulling together in any way, shape, or form. And nobody's safe, which means you're going to keep the bottom barrel guys, and bye-bye Luis Robert. He's the only one that's going to give you anything. Somebody you drafted and developed, and he's gone.
You think so?
That wouldn't surprise me. I mean, come on. Our new director of player personnel, Paul Janisch, played a few years in the major leagues. In the last few years, he's been an associate coach for the Rice Owls, helping them win a college or get to the College World Series. I'm not impressed. And then you wrap up the rest of the coaching staff, led by Pedro Grifol, bench coach Charlie Montoyo. Marcus Thames was added as your hitting coach. Your first base coach, outfield coach, Jason Bourget. Matt Weiss is your assistant pitching coach. And they brought in Grady Sizemore as the major league coach. and Drew Butera as the catching coach. There you go. Does that inspire you or what?
Well, I think the problem is, again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, you got to get a great head coach. You got to get a great manager.
Yeah. The one that they didn't have before was somebody like the major league coach to help make sure guys are ready to play. I like adding Grady Sizemore. Former great player for the Indians. He was the face of their franchise for 10 years. I don't mind that. I'm just not impressed with anybody else.
Well, you also have to hope that just because you're a great player, Robin Ventura doesn't mean you're going to be a great manager or a great coach.
Sizemore's been around developmental stuff, so he's been building, but
and I say that
we'll
about
see.
Robin Ventura because
he was
of course,
disaster as
you
a
could
manager.
say the same thing that we just got rid of with David Ross.
Right.
So, but we've righted the ship. God help us. We've righted the ship.
Yeah, and mine's sinking.
The other new managers, not impressive. Sorry, not impressive. Carlos Mendoza, Yankees bench coach, goes over to take over the Mets.
What the hell is that about?
Well, I think David Stearns, the new president of operations, the new GM for the Mets, got screwed by Counsell. I think he thought Counsell was going to follow him to New York.
Yeah, why? Nobody in their right mind would want to go to New York.
Counsell is from the Midwest. He's from the upper Midwest.
He's from the Milwaukee area.
Yeah, it doesn't shock anybody that he would make the short jump.
Right.
The puddle jump down to Chicago.
Yeah, and why would you want the scrutiny of the Chicago or the New York media?
Yeah.
Chicago's bad enough.
So you fire Buck Showalter, get Carlos Mendoza. The Guardians, I'll admit, I'd completely forgotten that Francona said he was retiring.
Yeah.
So it kind of came out of left field to me that the Guardians hired Stephen Vogt, former catcher, as their new skipper. And then,
but historically, catchers make some of the better managers.
Yes.
Historically.
Yep. And then the
Ross
Angels
might develop eventually.
What the hell are the Angels doing?
The Sox just picked up some of their former coaches.
The Angels hire Ron Washington. Retread. You think that's going to entice Shohei Ohtani to come back to them?
No, it's not.
All right, we got to whip through a lot of stuff in about 8 minutes, kids. So, in the NBA, their ridiculous, stupid in-season tournament has begun.
Oh, the NBA Cup. Does anybody really care?
I don't.
No. It's not going to make me watch. Sorry.
Nope, my Orlando Magic are off to a decent start, 4-3. Moving on to NCAA basketball, the season just started a couple nights ago, already with a big upset. James Madison beats number 4 Michigan State.
Son beats father.
Nephew.
Or nephew beats uncle. Yeah, sorry.
Nephew was on the staff for James Madison, beating his uncle. See, I love Tom Izzo, but he has a lot of these types of losses in his history.
This is why he's never going to be that top echelon coach.
I think Bill Self has passed him. Speaking of which, Bill Self gets a new deal, a new rolling deal with Kansas. Technically a 6-year, $66 million deal. Gets a little bit more up front, a little bit less over the 5 years after this year.
Yeah, whatever.
Crime pays. What? I didn't say that out loud, did I?
Yeah, and it's true.
All right. Not only did we have a big upset on the men's side, but we had a bigger upset on the women's side.
Yes, we did.
Number 1, LSU. The women lose to number 20, Colorado, in their opening game of the year.
Yep. And speaking of LSU, did you see that the NCAA has finally done their review of the national championship game?
And said there were some errors in the officiating?
Yep, that was well below expectations.
Hmm. All right, a couple moments of silence here. Of course, I want to give you a minute to talk about Bob Knight, if you would like to, because I talked about that last week.
Hey, I threw a chair in his memory.
There you go. Dick Drago dies at 78, former MLB pitcher. Now, of course, the arrogance of the Northeastern baseball fan. Played in the greatest game ever. I think it was Game 6 of the 75 World Series, whatever. And then, of course, unfortunately, way too young at 41 years old, Matt Ulrich, former offensive lineman for the Colts, played on the Super Bowl team, along with Peyton Manning, Tony Dungy, and everybody else. My two Clint Eastwood badasses of the week. Number one, Damar Hamlin. As if he hasn't already done enough.
The guy is incredible, isn't he?
This is what we need more of in sports. Of course, we talked about Cincinnati beating Buffalo in Cincinnati this past week. And Damar Hamlin took the opportunity to set up a scholarship program in Cincinnati named after, I believe, the 10 people most responsible, first responders, medical personnel, for getting him through his incident last season. Kudos to Damar Hamlin. He gets it.
Yeah, he knows he got a second chance, and he is doing everything he can to do right in this world.
Yep.
I applaud him.
Yep. Very, very few and far between people like Damar Hamlin. Thank God he is still with us.
Yes.
The other Clint Eastwood badass of the week I have, the Texas Southern tuba player who was getting heckled during a football game and punched out the heckler while holding the tuba.
Good for him.
You got to watch the video, kids. Go out on YouTube and watch this. He threw like 3 or 4 punches at this guy. Landed the third one, I think, was the one that really rocked him. The dumbass. But this kid.
Kudos. Stand up for yourself.
Yep.
Love it.
Awesome. All right. Not a ton of dumbasses this week to wrap things up. Couple. So we're not going to play dumbass or not. But I think you'll agree these two dumbasses are
the epitome of dumbasses.
High-level dumbasses. And we have to call out NASCAR first and foremost.
Of course we do.
NASCAR painted on the championship weekend. Painted the restart zone in the wrong place. Now, they kept it as it was for the truck race.
Yep, but then had to redo it for the Xfinity and Cup.
It's just
that
almost leaves you speechless. That would be like in the NFL,
where you painted the goal line way up further.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
We were supposed to put 5 yard. What? No, that's 2.5, not 3. What? Oh, okay. I guess we'll redo it. Thanks.
Oh my God.
Thanks for letting us know. What an embarrassing way to end the weekend for NASCAR.
God.
But how can we not wrap up this edition of Sports Frenzy 2.0 without bringing up one of our all-time greats, perpetual dumbass that he is, LeBron James. Not necessarily LeBron directly in this one. Let's say the Lakers.
Let's go with the Lakers, yes.
The Lakers filed a protest this week with the NBA saying that not enough fouls were called for LeBron James in their recent game against the Miami Heat. This is why I hate LeBron James more than poison. You literally are filing protests with the league because he's not getting enough fouls called on the people guarding him?
That's absolutely pathetic.
You're blatantly admitting you're manipulating the game to try to favor him.
It's pathetic. Shame on you. That is god-awful pathetic.
I gotta believe this really is burning Pat Riley's balls. As the front office, the face of the Heat, the front office guy.
The man who ran Showtime in L.A.
Exactly.
Who put the Lakers back on the map.
Yeah, the Lakers are protesting the fact that their star player isn't getting the calls against Riley's team.
Boo frickin' who.
Fuck you, LeBron.
Screw you, Lakers.
But
we love you, our listeners.
How could we not end without thanking you each and every week for listening to us? But don't forget to check out the weekend edition, your Saturday morning hangover cure. He's Dave.
He's Kev. Bye-bye.